Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is a long and overdue video that was recorded during WonderCon 2018, and for some reason I forgot to upload this video for a long time. So what this video is it's the showrunners for Black Lightning that are giving a roundtable discussion to talk about the past season, what we can look forward to coming up in their next season. So it's a really cool video, and the first person we have up is Adam Giadrone, and he is the producer and also one of the writers for Black Lightning. So hope you enjoy. Here we go.
Tobias hasn't been seen in a while.
Oh, so what is his return going to mean for everyone?
It will certainly mean something. Tobias is such an amazing villain. I actually think he's the most complex, nuanced villain on TV. Maybe along with Negan on Walking Dead. Like, you're seeing different sides of a villain and what it means. I was fortunate enough in my first episode to write his story from how we saw him from behind the scenes, and to see a little bit of the complexity of what goes on with him is important. I think it's important to know that, you know, villains are people too, and he has his own motivations in coming back. So that's the tease. You know, last we saw him, he had been shot, his sister had been killed. He's coming back with a vengeance, and as if he needed any more of a reason to not like Black Lightning, he's certainly coming back strong now.
So we have this, I guess, circle of trust with Jefferson and the people close to him, but now that seems to be closing into just him and his family. How does Black Lightning move forward after having these betrayals from Gambi and
Well, you know, I think that the conflict is good for us, right? It creates drama. And so seeing how Gambi and Jefferson, how Miss Foudy and Jefferson, and you know, Inspector Henderson as well, and Jefferson and Black Lightning on both sides, I think it's just all going to add to the drama that's really at play. And he does need a circle of trust. All superheroes do, and it's going to, how should I say, ebb and flow. You know, those are relationships that we want to keep in play based on what we know about the comics and based on what we know about these characters. The Miss Foudy reveal that we just saw in this last episode, I think is going to lead to some interesting complications.
Is there anything that you can tease about Grace going forward in the season 8 that will see her again? Will she kind of forget about her power?
You know, I don't want to tease too much about her, but I will speak on Grace. I think it's most important that we got to know Anissa, that we got to know Thunder, and that we got to know the family. And we know, as far as the comics are concerned, how important that Grace and Anissa are together and individually. And so we wanted to address that, we wanted to introduce that, but we didn't want to go too far into it because the family is what this is really about. And so getting to know Anissa to the degree that we can was very important. And so, yes, we're aware everyone wants to see Grace and Anissa. So I guess that would be the tease. Yeah, we're aware.
You know, you started out with a lot of the original Isabella run as kind of the foundation for the comics, the source material.
Sure.
With the daughters, obviously some later stuff. Is there more later material that you're looking to pipe in the season 1, or are you saving all that for later? Because
we were focusing on the family, as I was saying, and using Salim's, obviously it's his vision, Salim Akil's vision, that it's taking the source material, taking the heart and the essence of what's going on with these characters and setting them in Freeland, right? And so tapping into little pieces of it, but now within the world of the Akils, within this Black Lightning CW universe. And so there's inspiration that comes from the comics all the time because we're all huge fans. And so pulling that, yet keeping it true to today, you know, it was written in a different time, literally, and making it present and relatable and have an impact on our show as well as on society, I think is very important.
What do you think about what were you trying to achieve in showing how the two different daughters reacted to their powers? When it got revealed, Anissa had a very positive reaction,
sure.
Jennifer had a very negative one. What are you trying to talk about that material?
Well, I think just look at their characters. and how different the two characters are as sisters. And by the way, I love their relationship. How it feels very real, talking to each other the way siblings speak to one another. And I think if you stay true to those characters, they actually reacted the way that you would expect. You know, Jennifer's a teenager. Anissa is in her early 20s. She has different perspectives. She's an activist. Jennifer has, the type of good selfishness that a teenager's supposed to have. And so the first thing she thought about is, how is this going to affect me? And she needs to protect her life. She needs to protect what it means to be a teenager. Whereas Anissa is, she's out there trying to help the world, trying to save the world. And so her first thought is, how can I use this to do just that?
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, everybody.
And next up is Lamont McGee. He is a writer for Black Lightning.
Nice seeing you again.
Yeah, man.
Alright, so I didn't get to ask the last right in this, but I'm going to ask you.
I'm afraid already.
Yeah, I got it because we got teased about this 2 episodes ago about the other DC heroes and their acknowledgement of Black Lightning. And we've already seen the end crossover. We're going to maybe potentially see other DC TV heroes coming to Greenland, or we're going to see Black Lightning and his family maybe going to Star City, Central City. Is this going to happen?
This is what I can say, and it's not a lot. What I can say is, if anything happens, which I'm not saying it's going to, it will be out of freedom. But like Salim said, this is Jefferson and his family. It's about them, right? So we're not super anxious to jump in, because if you look at the other shows are macro, and we're more micro. Well, they deal with saving the world, like nuclear holocaust. We deal with drug dealers in the neighborhood. So the stories, it would have to be a special story in order for it to actually work perfectly, but it will be from the lens of Freeland, if and when it ever happened, which at this point we are here, they are there, and that's cool for now.
As a writer, is there any particular character that you identify with and you're like, this is my voice, I can really write for this particular character?
That's a two-pronged answer.
You can have two answers, that's all good.
Okay, so Jefferson is like the guy I always want to be. Jefferson's the person I hear in my head, and that person I'm trying to teach my nephew how to live his life and try to be the example. And Tobias is just fun to write. Like it's like the Darth version of Jefferson. It's kind of like you have those thoughts that you never act on, and Tobias acts on them, and it's just fun.
Speaking of that, can you speak to the process of writing his dialogue? Because he has such a really good dialogue that you kind of, when he speaks, kind of have shivers go through my body. Be honest with you.
It's like you can write 3 lines of Tobias, and you try to find the best words to fit in those 3 lines, just to give what he's trying to say, but in a way that's like, he's intelligent and he's menacing and he doesn't care about anyone except his sister.
Right.
That's the only person he cares about. Even, Cyanide and Joy Toledo, he has affection for, but he loves his sister, and that's it.
Okay. So we went from a vengeance story between Tobias and Jefferson, like on Black Lightning, however you want to look at it. But he was all like, I got to kill him because he killed my father.
Right.
But now you've escalated this to, now it's like, oh, he killed my sister. So how, you talk about stuff being minor and nuclear, I feel like this is about to get nuclear.
It's the Michael Keaton Batman, where the Joker's like, you made me, and Batman says, you made me first. That's pretty much what this is.
Okay. Nicely done. So, on the ASA, are you guys going to use them as, like, just for season 1, or are you kind of setting up a whole ASA arc as the other season 2, season 3? There's going to be an overarching, bigger bat. Like, in all the other series, like, you start here. This is never where we end. This is usually the beginning, and it'll get bigger and bigger and more convoluted, and then it'll go back to the beginning, and then it'll get bigger and get more convoluted. So the ASA is, there will be other iterations of a big bad,
But the ASA could carry on, may not. You just have to just tune in and see.
You know it will.
On the case of Gamby, if he's a double-edged sword because he's helped the family so much. If you know the comics, obviously you know the fate. So you have a choice, kind of, as a TV show. Do you help one of their allies and keep him going, or do you
stay true to the comics?
Yeah.
I'm a comics guy. I'm a superhero guy. Staying true to the comics, we could do, but we can do that in 7 years. We don't have to do it now. I mean, his fate is his fate, but we can change his fate. That's the beauty of this new medium. I mean, it's the beauty of this show is just different. Like we've taken this source material and we stayed as true to it as possible, but we have a little wiggle room to just create a bigger world and do bigger things. And I'm excited for it.
Was that a dilemma that you guys were thinking about early in the
Well, you have to plan all of it ahead, and you like, what do we want to do with? And we kick stories around back and forth, but at the end of the day, our cast, you will see them. You will see them in some iteration or the other. Like Lala died, he came back.
It's true.
It's true.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, no problem.
Next up will be Salim Akil. He is the writer, creator, and director of Black Lightning.
All right. So can you kind of speak to what the song selection process is on the show? Because every song selection has been on point.
Thank you.
And as a music guy, that hits me hard. That's what got me into the show.
Thank you.
So,
what you're hearing is what I listen to. You know what I mean? I think that I love music. My mother was a singer, and she made records. My son is a rapper, God Holly, and he makes music for the show. He did the title sequence. He was in episode 9.
He was
in episode 9, performing and was driving the car. So we come from an artistic family, an artistic background. So the music that you hear is the music that I listen to, and then I have a wonderful music supervisor who's been working with me for years, Keir Lehman, and he knows my taste. So we just try to always do something for the culture. You know what I mean? It's connecting in a different way. Music is magical, and it can give you emotions that maybe visually you can't get right away. And so I love balancing that out. It's like alchemy that I love. Thank you.
I had a question about Gamby and Jefferson's relationship. They harp a lot about how it's a very father-son relationship, except that from Gamby's side, I see it. From Jefferson's side, I don't speak to my father like that. So I was kind of wondering, how true is that, and how are you writing to it from that perspective?
Well, what's funny is, and you guys will understand this culturally, Gamby's a white man, and white people raise their children differently than we raise our children. So the things that he wouldn't say to Alvin, his father, he probably was allowed to say to Gamby. And also Gamby felt a lot of guilt. So I'm sure he was a lot easier on him as well. But what I love about that relationship is that you're watching a relationship and you're watching a man who was raised by a white man. And so if you watch Jefferson, there are some traits that he has, a lot like Gamby's. And one, I'll give you one. Jefferson is very reserved, like Gamby, until he gets into the suit. And if you notice, when he gets into the suit, he starts talking, a little loose. You know what I mean? So we did that on purpose.
I have to say, the family dynamic with Jefferson and his daughters and even his wife is I feel like that is surgically made. I feel like there's a lot of people involved talking about how their family dynamic is, because it's very important to the show. How much of your own personal family life and possibly other producers and writers are put into the Jefferson family?
Well, artists always pull from their you know, from what their experiences are from their soul. So what you see is a sort of an amalgamation of all of us. You know what I mean? Charles Holland and Pat Charles, they have daughters. You know what I mean? I have a daughter. I have 3 sons. So we all sort of talk and argue and, you know, and sort of make sure that the people watching sort of can relate to what they're seeing. If you have children, hopefully you see moments in the show that sort of remind you of your own experience with your children, or at least your own experience with your parents. So for instance, I think this episode is aired where Jennifer is at the refrigerator and she's getting ready. Her mom says hello and she goes upstairs, and her mom says, and she rolls her eyes, and her mom says, "Oh, wait a minute, young lady. No, we don't do that. I don't know where your friends are doing, but we don't do it in our house, right?" So you know, I've been talked to like that, and he certainly has too, as an assistant.
But the dynamic, I think, with Lynn and the rest of the family is really interesting, especially these last couple episodes, and where, you know, she now knows she's kind of the odd duckling out here. What are you doing in the next couple episodes to continue further investigating and kind of her feelings, where she fits in, how she feels she can still contribute and be a part of it and not feel isolated?
Yeah, you know, we always said, especially my wife Mara always said that Lynn's superpower is love. And I think what you'll continue to see is her try to navigate her daughters now having powers. I think she's going to be less concerned about Jefferson. I made the analogy earlier that it's like watching your kids decide to become police officers, or watching your daughters decide to go into the military and there's a war going on. You know, it's something noble about it, but there's a hell of a lot of fear involved. And I think that that's what she's going to have to deal with, you know, and she's going to have to decide how she wants to participate, because she has to participate in some shape, form, or fashion. And I don't think we can keep having her just be a resistor. But 11 and 12 and 13 is a mother.
I like that one.
I just gotta ask, how much fun are you having on this show? It looks like y'all are having just such a great time.
We're having a ball, man. I mean, this is a blessing. You know, I can remember living in the projects, and at 4, this is all I ever wanted to do. I never wanted to do anything else. And I was just hiking the other day, and I was thanking Allah, because I was like, you know, you put this in me, and you said believe. And at every step, when my mother went to prison, when I was living in my car, when, you know, I first started writing the pilot, you know, the biggest thing that kept me going was belief, you know. And so to be able to do it is amazing. It's like you're looking at a walking miracle. And I try to accept it like that, and accept it as a blessing, so that I never forget what I have in my hands. You know what I mean?
I have one question that I want to ask. Do you believe in resurrection?
Yes, I do. I do, because I've seen it. I know it. So it's real. But it's a personal resurrection. It's a personal resurrection. And so it only matters in your life. You can't look for it outside of you. It's inside of you, right? Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
And last but certainly not least will be Pat Charles, and he is a co-executive producer and writer of Black Lightning.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this question. I asked one of the other writers, which is, when you are writing a script, what character is in your head that you feel most comfortable writing for? That you're like, I am this guy. I have his voice.
I think I have Two Bits' voice.
Okay.
I feel like I recognize Two Bits. I know a lot of guys who want to do the right thing, but sometimes they struggle. But they have a lot of humor in spite of their situation. But I also feel like I have Jefferson's voice and Lala's voice too. So, but I like Two Bits. You know, I feel like Two Bits is a character that I know a lot of Two Bits. I grew up with a lot of Two Bits.
Speaking of Lala, can you speak to how kind of his arc in the season? He's kind of started out as kind of gray character. He knew that he didn't really want to be who he is, but he has no choice but to be who he is. But now he's kind of going a little bit darker.
Yeah.
Speak to that a little bit.
I think it's, you know, he's devolved a little bit into a bad guy, which is, you know, those are the type of stories you can tell in superhero shows. But he came, you know, he was one of Jefferson's top students many years ago, and it's just interesting to see how people who are talented and smart, you know, sometimes they can't overcome their environment or the opportunities they have. And, you know, ultimately that's our thought about Lala, is that he's a guy who perhaps in a different circumstance may have been a leader in business. You know, it is to some extent his fault, but, you know, it's also the environment, you know, certainly didn't help the choices he made and the path he's gone down. But he's trying to do the best. He's actually trying, it's interesting though, he's being the best that he can be, you know, at being this bad guy. Right? So it's like, you know, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right.
What's been your favorite episode
to work on in terms of, I mean, I like the episodes you write, you pour yourself into. So, I mean, I like the two episodes I wrote, 4 and 10. Honestly, I like all the episodes. I feel like, you know, I've been working in TV a long time, and this is the first show that I've really got to use my voice as opposed to, you know, imitating another voice, which is what TV writing is usually about. And, you know, all these people in the show I recognize, you know, and so I have an affinity, a connection to all the episodes because I recognize all of the characters in the show.
Can you talk about your experience in this writer's room specifically? Because as opposed, I mean, look at, you know, all your writing credits and Sons of Anarchy. There's obviously you've been in diverse writing rooms, but you know, this might be something that's a little bit more special given the material.
Well, I would say usually the diverse writing rooms before was me. So usually it's me and a bunch of other white men.
Right.
There are a few other rooms where, you know, they'd have, you know, but they haven't been as diverse as I would like. And this is the first room where there's a certain level of conversation I don't have to have when I talk about ideas. And there's also a certain type of story that I can tell that I haven't had the opportunity to tell before on any of the shows that I've written on. And so, I don't know, it's great. Whether it's a lesbian story or a Latino story or Asian story or obviously African American story, I haven't been able to tell those stories this way until now.
Excellent. Can you kind of describe like the process of like bringing Hamid on and explaining his character Tobias to him, right? Because he's one of the more fascinating ones that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think, you know, Marvin has been amazing in the way he's portrayed Tobias, and I think he just got it. You know, we told him that, you know, Tobias is a self-hating albino African American. And so it's like, wow, that's a lot to kind of, you know, unpack. And Marvin, you know, who didn't have a big acting background, but he is a very accomplished rapper, he just attacked it like he would attack a lyric. And he would, you know, journal about the character, talk to us about the character, and also bring some of his own personal life as an albino to the story, and the things that he went through, you know, as a younger person. And so it's been a conversation since the beginning, and I know Marvin just really kind of made sure that he understood where Tobias was coming from. And some of the things he could understand just from the way he grew up. It's an authenticity that he brings to the character that I think we all bring to the show, which has served us well.
Can you speak a little bit about, in the panel you guys talked about how the Tuskegee experiment affected or basically inspired the story. Can you talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, I just think we all know that, or at least those of us in the room felt that throughout American history, African American lives haven't been valued as much as other lives. And the Tuskegee experiment is just a real blatant example of that. We think that the way that African American lives aren't valued now is a little less blatant, but it's still the same result. And so our thought was, how can we show it in a very clear way? And so we just kind of updated the Tuskegee experiment with green light.
I just want to ask about Alvin, Jefferson's father. I feel like his work has laid a lot of groundwork so far for the show, but I feel like this won't be the last that we'll hear of his research. Will this be true for the upcoming season?
Well, I think Alvin is always going to play a big part in terms of Jefferson is who he is because of his father. And his father, you know, the type of man he was, the work that he did, it illuminated everything that Jefferson does. It laid the groundwork for who Jefferson is. And so it's always going to play a part in what Jefferson does and how he interacts with the community and the lessons he teaches his own kids. So yeah, it's going to play a big role. I don't know if we're overtly say that this came from Alvin, but we always think about where Jefferson came from.
As a kind of more of a fun off-the-wall question, I think, you know, in Tony's original run of Black Lightning, there was a cameo of Superman that shows up, and you know, obviously he's probably off limits. But did you guys think about, you know, because there was a story where he came to, you know, where Black Lightning was. So is that something that's maybe
we've talked about some of those things, but for now we have so much to unpack that we just can't, we don't know. I think what Salim said about, you know, Batman, even that is a challenge, but we have so many, like we have 3 superheroes on our show, plus we have the family drama, and so it's a lot. So yeah, we don't have the space to deal with the other superheroes. There's 3 Superman shows anyway, so what we like about our shows, we're different. Thank you. Thank you. Grace?
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all. Take care.
Thank you.